I realized that we all needed to learn the same things over and over again, like how to manage your mind and mood when you get off track, how to figure out what you really, really want, knowing what your purpose and values are, knowing how to set boundaries, knowing how to be playful in uncertainty. After coaching so many people and after finally like coming out of just being miserable and burnt out, I called it the work happiness method because, and I've never shared this with anyone, but I feel like it is about work, but also it's about working on your happiness too.
Welcome to What's Possible, where leadership thrives. I'm Ilene Schaffer, and I'm glad you're here. Behind every powerhouse communicator and relationship builder is a strategic thinker who leads with curiosity. Because of that, we believe that your journey to becoming the best leader starts with you. Have you ever found yourself stuck or dissatisfied in your career, even if, by all outward appearances, you seem to be crushing it? If yes, you are in good company. Our guest today, Stella Grizont, is a leading happiness expert, positive psychology practitioner, executive coach, and highly sought-after speaker. After feeling discontent in her various roles and helping thousands of leaders navigate disengagement, Stella embarked on a journey to redefine career fulfillment. Today, we hear how she developed the work happiness method, a model she has developed and perfected over the years. Buckle up to learn essential skills from resilience and purpose to boundaries and play. Yes, it can be fun. Stella will share what happens when we develop self-awareness to unlock more possibilities and choose who we want to be, no matter where we work. I'm Ilene Schaffer. Let's find out what's possible. Stella Grizont, I am so happy to be with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here. So excited.
So before we get into the exciting news about your brand new book, The Work Happiness Method, let's first take a moment to share with the audience, who are you and why are you the right person to write this book? And then we're going to dive deep into the book.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Who am I? I guess I'll give you the like more official kind of bio where I'm an executive coach. We collaborate together all the time.
Yes.
I am a speaker. I speak between 50 and 85 times a year to different organizations like Amazon and Audible and Google and libraries and hospitals and all of that. And then I'm a mom of two little kids, one who has been waking me up twice a night recently.
Ouch. I remember those days.
Yeah. And then I'm married and I guess you could say a positive psychology, someone who knows a lot about positive psychology. And then why am I the person? I would say because I have spent so much time feeling miserable at work and so much, you could almost say like anguish. And I just want to help people avoid that. I want to give them ways to just more quickly and easily find more meaning and peace and joy and satisfaction in every day and not constantly be questioning, am I in the right place? Or is there more than this? Or how did I land here again? Like I want them to just wake up more excited and confident that they are living and being the person that they want to be in this world.
Gosh, don't we all want more of that? That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I know that's what we get a lot of requests for you to come or you to be speaking at organizations on all of these topics. So it's something that I know has been near and dear to your heart. And you've experienced it, as you said, personally, and now, and then also been working with individuals and organizations for years on these same topics.
Yes.
So before we actually dive in, you said something interesting when I asked about, who you are and what brought you to being the one to write this book. And you said, okay, let me give you my professional, the professional one. And
Yeah.
you interspersed a teeny bit that you have your kids and husband, etc. So give us one more fun nugget about who is Stella. I don't want the professional one. I
Ah.
want something that's
Well, I guess I always get stumped with this question. And then sometimes I tell my husband, oh, this is my fun fact about myself because I have such a hard time being like, what's my fun thing? Um, but I guess I don't, I love nature. I love art. I love design. I love being with friends. Lately I've been loving quiet, just nobody around. So that's not doesn't sound very exciting.
Oh, but it
But
sounds nurturing. It
it
sounds
yeah.
like you're listening to what you need.
Yeah, I would say I'm trying to do a lot more of that. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's great. Well, it's funny as you were speaking, I'm like, you love connection, and then you threw that curveball in, and I like alone time, and
Yeah.
I get that. I remember when I was in the thick of child rearing, where you are, and my husband would come back from work, and I'd say, "Here are the babies. I'm going to just go to the market for a bit." He's like, "No, I'll do the market," and we'd find. I'm like, "No, I've got the market," and I would walk quietly up and down the aisles when we didn't really need anything, but I just needed a moment to myself. So
Yes.
I can appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes. I remember when I had my first, I was jealous of my husband's commute because I was like, you just get to sit there and do nothing.
Right.
And I want that.
I get it. So, well, now what's so beautiful is you get to have these beautiful children that you are up at the wee hours with, and you get to put really good work, and you're cultivating yourself, and you're also helping to raise others in the process. So, let's go ahead and dive into the work happiness method. And real quick funny story, I was just talking to Stella about this right before we hit play, when she had told our coaches on the Silicon Valley Change team that the book was ready for pre-orders. All of us, of course, scurried to get them as quickly as possible. And we have people, some of our HR people who we have for regular gatherings. We always give a book at our HR events, and everybody's now picking Stella's book to be pre-ordered
Oh.
as their gift book. And so then I sent it through to a group of woman who I'm on a text stream with. And many of them actually do have professions, are working. They're at all different stages of careers, and some are not. And literally every single one of them said, oh, I need this. I need it for me. I need it for my two daughters. I'm getting it for my niece. And it just went like wildfire. And then people were saying, oh, graduation's coming up. It's the perfect graduation gift. And that is what I love about the book you have written and are going to talk about,
Oh.
is it's so approachable and the audience is widespread. And so it is needed and valuable.
I just want to be like, from your mouth to God's ears. Yes, you know what? And people always ask me like, who's your niche or like who's your target audience? And I'm always like, I work with everyone and everyone needs this. Even if you're retired. Like we all need what I call inner skills to better work with ourselves, to be resilient, to be more happy, to be more fulfilled. Like we're always learning how to better relate to ourselves, how to better regulate ourselves, how to have better boundaries, how to trust in when things are uncertain. So I- it's I feel like I wanted this to be very accessible to everyone because that's also who I love to work with. Like a new manager, a CEO, teachers, factory workers, like tech teams. So I think we're all human. So the work that I do is for all of us. And I hope it feels approachable. And I hope it feels very doable because that was the intention.
Let's go back one step and the work happiness method. First off, how did you get your full title and or your title and subtitle?
Well, it's actually based on a program that I've been teaching or coaching on for almost a decade. I went through several, I guess you could say, stages or shifts or turns in my career. I started off in advertising, thought, oh, I can't be creative enough in advertising. I got to go do something else that I'm passionate about. And I went to go work for a startup and I thought, oh, I'm too limited here too. And the leadership isn't aligned and blah, 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 blah. So then I was like, I got to go work for myself. And then I went and I launched my own business doing immersive play experiences for teams to bring them together. And each time, I switched. I thought, okay, now I won't be burned out. Now I won't be, restless. Now I'm going to be fulfilled. And then, when it was finally my own business, I realized like, oh, actually, I feel the same way. So I realized, oh my God, it's been me all along. Like I've been the common denominator. It wasn't the culture. It wasn't the clients. It wasn't the leadership. I had more control and power over my experience than I thought I did.
Mm.
And that was the genesis of the work happiness method. It was the realization that I had more choices and more control than I thought. And so I started to use my own tools that I learned in positive psychology to resuscitate myself and to shift gears and to shift my business to really support me being who I wanted to be. So in that process, and while I was coaching people, certain patterns started to emerge in the coaching, and I realized that we all needed to learn the same things over and over again, like how to manage your mind and mood when you get off track, which is the first chapter on resilience, how to figure out what you really, really want, which is the second inner skill I talk about, which is having a sense of clarity on what your unique definition of success is, knowing what your purpose and values are, knowing how to set boundaries, knowing how to be playful in uncertainty. Those are just a few examples. So the work happiness method was when I finally, after coaching so many people and after finally like coming out of my just being miserable and burnt out, um, I I called it the work happiness method because, and I've never shared this with anyone, but I feel like it is about work because that's where we that's where we work and spend most of our waking hours, but also it's about working on your happiness too.
Mm. I like that.
I don't even know if I've ever shared that with anyone. It is a method because I noticed myself going through the same stages with my clients. Like first I needed to hear who do you want to be in this world? So that's where we would begin. And we did an exercise called the vision generator, and that's in the book. And then I'd be like, okay, well, what are the guardrails that inform your decisions so that you can be that person every day? And that's how we started to get to the values. And so I want people to feel safe in what can feel like a really overwhelming journey of going inward. It can feel like you're dropping into a black hole. And so I just want them to know like there's a framework and there's steps and there's tools and there's room for mystery. But you have someone who's got your back, who's done this for thousands of other people. And this is all learnable.
What I really like in this story, again, is you've lived it yourself. And it was that aha moment of wherever I go, there I am. So it doesn't
Yes,
matter. It is an inside job always.
always.
There's no answers outside of us. And unless we stop to say, okay, what is going on that I'm carrying this with me to each new thing and uncover that, we'll never get to that place that we want to be.
Exactly. And I when I was writing this book, I was like, ooh, there's a lot more for me to learn because it was almost like each chapter I was going deeper. Like
Yeah.
for myself. And so that I think is the beauty is you go through the book, but it's there for you for as long as you need because we're always deepening, we're always expanding, we're always growing. And so
Yeah.
it's there to support you along the way because it certainly supported me as I was writing it.
Well, and I think to your point of we're always kind of growing along the way, we're always also facing new stages of life. So
Yeah.
whether it's becoming a mom, becoming a dad, whether it's getting a promotion at work, whether it's starting to experience aging parents, it's we constantly have new chapters, and it
Yeah.
requires new skill sets. It also requires a strong internal compass so that we don't get tossed around. And so, again, all these topics from resilience to purpose, boundaries, play all feed into keeping us stable in a world and a life that doesn't always feel stable.
Yes, especially now. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And um the play was very important and that's kind of the chapter on like how do you navigate uncertainty and instability and play is one of our untapped resources, our playfulness. And it's our, as humans, it's what enables us to constantly be dealing with change. It helps our brain rewire itself, it helps our neuroplasticity. And so I wanted to give space for that to help people reframe uncertainty as something that is to be feared or avoided or tamed, and to help people remember that they actually have within themselves the resource to embrace it, to welcome it, to play with it, and how to shift anxiety into potentially even excitement over what's to come.
Can you give us an example of that? I love how
Mhm.
you do dive into play because that seems so counterintuitive. You know, you're stressful. Let's let's jump into play. And how do you use it? And then also just go a little bit deeper, just so that people understand that brain connection too, that neuroplasticity that you talk about.
Yeah. So if we think about the unknown, and we see it, I see it as a continuum. On one side of the continuum is where we see the unknown as scary and a threat. In fact, most of the time, we tag the unknown as a threat in our brains because we have a negativity bias, which means our brain is just obsessed with what's wrong and wants to be alert to what's wrong. And we're just gravitating towards that. And we see the unknown as a threat because it means potential loss.
Mhm.
If I don't know what's going to happen, what if I what if this conversation isn't going to go as planned and they're not going to like me? What if I talk to my boss and tell him how I feel and he wants to let me go? Um, what if this reorg means I'm going to lose my job or my standing or my budget? So we almost like go towards what could be wrong. Um, so that's one end of the continuum. Then, if we were to pull back and see the other end of the continuum, when we think about the unknown, there's also the unknown that we fully embrace, such as going on vacation to a new destination,
Mhm.
opening up a new book, going to a new restaurant. Those are also unknowns, but we're excited about them. And so that's using our play mindset. And that's what in the book I talk about. How do we get more into that play mindset? Well, what determines whether you're in your play mindset or being heavily influenced by your negativity bias is how safe you feel.
Mm.
So if you don't feel safe, your body's in fight or flight. And so it's going to clench, right? Our vision actually gets narrowed and we're not open to possibilities. In fact, we're avoiding possibilities. because we want to protect ourselves. When we're feeling safe and open, we're excited. Anything is possible. Oh my God. Like, yes, let's go to this place and let's do this. Oh my God, how exciting. So, so that, is the other extreme end, right? So play helps us. Actually, it does this interesting thing to our nervous system where it helps us adapt to risk, which is quite scary, and it helps our nervous system stay in parasympathetic mode. For example, if you think about a mom and a baby playing peekaboo, when a mom closes her eyes, the baby's kind of like freaked out, like, where did mom go? Like, that's kind of scary. That's oh my God. But when she opens her eyes and she's like, peekaboo, it's exciting. Ah! So just that gesture, that like push and pull of risk, that trains the baby's nervous system to kind of be adaptive. And it can also help us when we're dealing with um, going into a meeting and we don't know what the outcome is, or when someone says, can we talk? Or when you're about to launch a book and you have no idea how it's going to go, right? Or you're staring at a blank page. So what we can do is we can actually start to marshal our play mindset by doing some of the tools I suggest in the book, which is doing some reframes. So instead of assuming the worst, you can and just thinking to yourself, this is going to suck or this is going to fail. You could say to yourself, I wonder how I'll be surprised.
I like that.
And I wonder how this is going to go. I wonder how I'm going to be delighted. If you're feeling frisky enough to say that, right? or you could just be like, I wonder how, when I was stuck during the whole Alaska Airlines thing, where the door flew off of the plane in middle
You were
of the flight.
on that plane?
No, I wasn't on the plane, but I was supposed to get on a plane the next day. And I was in Mexico with 2 kids in the airport, stuck for like 9 hours, feeling so sick, like horribly sick. I don't know if it was the flu or whatever. And I was feeling so bad. And I just kept saying, I wonder what this is all about. I wonder what this is all about. Like, just to give myself like opening the window just a crack, like for wonder, for curiosity, for this is not destined to be what it is. There's something more to the story. And when we're playful, we're open to possibilities.
Yeah.
So that's just one tiny thing you can do. You could start to see, instead of it being something awful, see it as like, maybe there's an opportunity. How might you be curious about what can transpire next?
Yeah. And just a simple shifting of words can really shift how our mind digests things. I know one of the questions that I always love when a client is feeling, frustrated by something and feeling like everything is happening to them, just that switching from 2 to 4, instead of why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? And then you start to think about, and it can sound like, okay, yeah, some things are really crappy. That is absolutely true. There are some things that are really challenging to manage. And like you said, if you can ever so slightly open the window a crack to seeing, kind of, not to use our podcast title, but to use our podcast title, what's possible. And that then gets your mind looking in a very different place. And that's what I hear you saying with play. It's engaging your mind in a way that's maybe more productive than going down a deep, dark tunnel.
Exactly. It's instead of, this is a popular one. Instead of I have to, I get to.
I get to. Yeah.
And I love the one that you just shared, instead of it's happening to me, it's happening for me. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So let's take one other chapter of your book. If you were to pick one chapter that you feel like, I just crushed it
Mm.
on this chapter. This chapter is so phenomenal. I kind of need to get it in the hands of everybody. What chapter would that be? And what is the takeaway from that chapter?
Oh my God. That's like asking you, like, which
Your
child do you
favorite
like
child?
better?
I could do the flip
uh,
and say which gave you the most trouble, but I'm not going to go there.
well, actually, I was going to say the answer to both of those questions is the last chapter, which is called Refocus. And that's about how do you return to what's important without pushing so hard. It's about when things don't go as planned. And, like, for example, while I was trying to finish this book or finish this proposal, so many things didn't go as planned. There was the pandemic, there was losing three grandparents, there was failed IVF, there was my mom got ovarian cancer. She's doing well. But then I discovered I had the BRCA1 mutation. There was getting my ovaries removed 1 year after having my second child. So having a second child. So there are so many things and they weren't part of the plan and they weren't help in my mind at the time. I felt like they were resistance for me to get my work done. And then finally, when it came to finishing the book, chapter 8, it was supposed to be called Focus, which is how do you, achieve your goals. And I just couldn't finish. I couldn't finish this chapter. I rewrote it like 10 times. And I was having like a little primal scream in my car one day because I was so upset that I was going in circles. I just spent 2 hours in a cafe on one paragraph. And then as I was leaving, I was like, oh my God, this paragraph didn't change at all. And I screamed in my car as soon as I got in. And I realized, so then I asked the question, I wonder what this is about. Like, what is this? What is this trying to teach me? Like, okay, I'm listening. What is this about? And and then I realized like I don't want to write about achieving your goals. Like there's a lot of great work written about achieving your goals and that's so important. I want to write about what I'm feeling right now and how to help people trust because I've all of those events I made it through. And in fact, each time I made it through, I reveled in the grace of the situation and how I grew or how things came together beautifully. Like IVF didn't work out. And then in the midst of the pandemic, after my grandparents died, I got pregnant. And I just was like, so I'm getting emotional, like so touched by
Yeah.
how
Wow.
perfect and how beautiful life could be.
Yeah.
And
Wow, that gives me chills.
I wanted, I wanted people to have a sense of hope and look for, it might not reveal itself right away, but to look for the guidance of even the resistance and how, like you said, it's not happening, to you, it's happening for you. And so I give some guidance in that chapter on like what are good questions to ask yourself, and how might you guide yourself through times where you're taken on a detour, whether it's you are taking yourself on a detour or life is taking you on a detour. How might you actually work with that? Because it might just be working for you. And so, to me, that's a special chapter because it also requires it's the integration of everything I wrote before. So it's integrating all the tools, all the skills. It's kind of like a mastery of once you know how to draw, then you can like go off and do like really cool stuff. You don't have to like stay in the lines, right? So in that chapter, I'm like, now go wherever you want. Don't stay in the lines. Here's how to use all these tools you just learned and to trust yourself and to trust where you're going.
Wow. Gosh, that's beautiful. It really makes me think about it's hard in the moment to trust that a new door and the right door, the one that's meant to open, is going to open. And we can't even know what's possible sometimes until we're in that new space. And then we have that ability to look back and say, thank you. I am
Mm-hmm.
glad it happened this way. And it's hard when you're in the moment. It's really hard in the moment, but to be able to have that feeling of hope and optimism. So when you do get through to the other side, you know, I've landed where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. And also to know that I am able to land. And if I don't land, I'm able to work with wherever I'm at
Mhm. Yeah.
and return to wherever I want to be too. So like I have within me the skills and the tools and the resources to find my way back, even if it's not what I expected or wanted to. So I do believe that we're all being guided to grow, but if that's too hard or too big of a pill to swallow, at least know that with the resources that you've learned, it's all about you can trust in yourself at least.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it sounds like it really takes into account the chapter on resilience, purpose, boundaries, play, and those tools, once you've mastered them, if you will, they can help you navigate kind of any situation that life throws your way. I kind of feel like you've already probably shared your big takeaway for our audience, but if you had to boil it into one thing you hope they take away, what is that one thing in one sentence to share with the audience?
You get to choose who you want to be. Yeah, like you get to choose who you want to be. So oftentimes when we feel like we're out of control or we get to choose how we want to show up. And so we have way more power than sometimes we feel. And so taking the time to get clear on who do you want to show up as and what's the experience you want to have in your career, in your life, that that you can actually really, really influence. And so I just want people to know that they have way more choice than sometimes they can even imagine.
Mm, beautiful. One mindset shift you hope people take away.
Well, that could be one, but
That is a good
let's see
one.
another one. Let's see another one. We didn't really talk about boundaries, but
You can give us a boundary tip. That's okay.
well, I think boundaries are really a hot topic now, especially post pandemic. And I see boundaries less as a fence to keep things out, more as a means to keep the right things in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want people, when they're thinking about their boundaries, to make sure that they're really focusing on what they want to cultivate and use the boundaries to enable that, to support that versus to just, oh, I got to stop all these things. It's like playing defense in your life versus like, let's actually grow a garden within these walls versus like keep out all the vermin. When I talk about boundaries in my talks, people really that kind of I think that lightens the load. It's like, oh yeah, let me focus on yeah, what do I really want?
I love that you picked something from your boundaries chapter just because I got a sneak peek into that chapter. Boundaries, Stella and I have talked about how boundaries is a favorite topic of both of ours because it can seem like such a nasty word, like, oh, she has boundaries, instead of a word that we celebrate, a word that we celebrate because boundaries allows us to live the life we want to live and to,
Yes.
like you said, invest in those things that feel meaningful and purposeful. And if we don't have boundaries, everything gets diluted. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad you threw in a boundary tip here. So what is one easy action somebody can take the moment they end this podcast to work happier?
Oh, well, they could actually go to visiongenerator.com
Mhm.
and do the vision generator. That's where I always start with my clients, which is getting clear on who you want to be in this world and what's most important. Oftentimes when we think about success, we think about it backwards. What do I want to do? What title do I want? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to get? And those are all important. We tend to think about the goals, and those are very important. But as you've seen, as I've seen and experienced, it's like you can check off all the boxes and achieve all the things and still be left feeling dissatisfied, empty, burnt out, like just lost. And so,
Mhm.
what we want to do is flip the sequence when we think about success. We want to first get clear on how do I want to feel in my life, in
Mhm.
at work? What are the qualities of my beingness? Is it focused, grounded, uh, influential, creative, playful, balanced? Like what are those qualities that I want to embody? And then let that guide the goals that you pursue
Mhm.
and make sure that they're aligned. So the vision generator, that's always where I start with my clients to really get clear on what do you really, really want in this life and how do you want to be showing up?
Great. Thevisiongenerator.com.
Mhm.
And the last official question, what's possible when people develop these inner skills that you've so beautifully written and spoken about?
So much more. So much more is possible. And what I love is that it opens up every day
Mm.
because once you get clear on like, okay, creativity is important to me, then you wake up and your how you make breakfast can be an opportunity for you to be more creative, right? Like
Yeah.
how you have a conversation, what you put on, like you start to notice there's so many opportunities for you to be who you want to be in this world. And so possibilities literally open for you. So when you learn this, you will start to see the bounty of what life has to offer.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, Stella, those are our official questions. Will you hang on with me to answer two bonus questions for any of our listeners who
Yes.
want just a teeny tiny bit more?
Yes.
Excellent. So, what do you do every single morning before you start your day to make sure it gets going on the right path?
I wish I could say every single day I exercise, I meditate. I don't.
Thank you
Uh,
for your honesty. We appreciate that on what's possible.
um, I I will say if I get to control my wake up, meaning like it's not my 2-year-old running in and like in the middle of the night, um, before I put my feet on the ground, I will be like, okay, what am I grateful for? I'll just do like a
Mhm.
little thank you for waking up, for my health, for not feeling pain, for my family. Like I will just go through a list and then I'll just like, and I'll also be like, please let me just be of service of like, just, I want to just show up for the best possible outcome today, whatever that is. I don't set an intention to, so I usually don't, I just like, I'll be available for the best possible scenario today. And that's what I want. So that's kind of what I try to do. And sometimes it's like 20 seconds, all of that, like quickly in my mind. And then I'll ideally exercise, ideally meditate. But that doesn't always happen.
We're human, you know.
Yeah.
We are human, and this might not happen either. My next question, and it is the final.
Okay.
Given that you've been writing a book, given that you are also working full time, given that you're a mom full time and have very little extra time, what was your favorite book that you read this year?
I did actually read a lot of books to research. I loved and was very stressed by Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Says No. I
Mm.
loved it and it stressed me out because I was like, oh my God, is this me?
Yeah.
um, But I thought it was so powerful in how it described what happens when we just, abandon ourselves, abandon our needs, don't listen to our feelings, and how that manifests in the body. And it just really helped me honor my body and my nervous systems in a whole new way.
And I was talking to Lisa Zagarmi, who was on our show, a very dear friend of yours. Her podcast on embodied leadership has been so well received. And as you and I were talking about, I think so many people are starting to notice, there might be something to this whole body mind thing. And I have Rebecca Aurora will be on the show coming up and talking even more about it. And it is so important. We cannot deny it. Our body always, as my dad said, our bodies always hold the score. And
yes,
there is no two ways about it. So we better start listening.
Yes. And it's not like it's me. It's us, right? Like it's all what we're all, but I've learned to listen, like you said, and it's been really a game changer.
Stella Grizont, thank you. I love being with you.
Oh, I love it so much too. Thank you so much. This was so special.
If you find this show meaningful, please hit that follow or subscribe button. It helps more people find what's possible organically. If you have questions about anything we've talked about, please drop me a line at podcast@svchange.com. I read every email I get, whether that's an episode idea, a guest recommendation, or just a simple note about how the show has impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Ilene Schaffer. Thanks for listening. What's Possible is produced by the team at Palm Tree Pod Co. The executive producer is Anthony Palmer. Garrett Wright is associate producer. Thanks to Emily Miles and Caitlin Krings for video and digital support. The content for this podcast is created by Ilene Schaffer and the team at Silicon Valley Change.